Hey, Katrina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm working on a card inspired by literature for the Path of Positivity Challenge. I invite you to come over and share whatever you're working on. We are an Anything Goes challenge. Anything goes as long as it's inspiring and positive, but we do have the optional theme of literature. We are going to start out here in Cricut Design Space, where I designed this card and chose some floral cuts and used the print thin cut for all of the pieces. The pieces are from Vectoria Designs Book Lover Paper Pack, Creative Writing, Antique Library, and my flower cuts are from Close to My Heart, Art Philosophy, and Close to My Heart, Artiste. The leaf cuts are from Jewell, which is part of the Cricut Access. Moving over to the craft table, you can see that we have our little flowers all cut. And I will tell you that I pre-inked everything so that you wouldn't have to sit and watch me ink everything. I have a little brown Gros-grain ribbon and the little book collection plate, the little library cards, the picture of the little girl. I have this 5.5 by 8.5 card blank. And I'm going to go ahead and score it at 4.25. I fold it in half and we end up with a card blank that is 4.25 by 5.5. I'm going to go ahead now and adhere this card front, but first I'm going to go ahead and ink it because it was the only thing I didn't ink off camera. So I'll just give you a little hint on how I do that. I just kind of swirl the ink around the edges. You can see my pre-inked flowers here. The way I put them together is I stick a little pin into, you can stick it into anything you can stick a pin into. This just happens to be a little sanding block from Close to My Heart. And then I just start laying the pieces together and glue them. The pin is just in there, not necessarily to hold that flower in because there's a hole in the flower, so it's going to slide around, but it keeps it from sliding too much. And I work on a glass plate, and so they would be sliding all over the place. So this just kind of keeps them together. Now for this flower, it definitely is helpful because I'm going to go ahead and lay those out. And I'm actually going to stick a hole in the middle of these flowers with my pin. That way, as I'm adding the glue, I don't have to worry about where the center is. I just continue to feed through that pin. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. Here's my first layer of the flowers. And I'm just going to take my second 2 layers and lay them right on top. All I had to do was stick the pin in that pinhole, as you can see right here, and it puts it in right where I need it. Now I'm going to give these flowers a little bit of dimension just by curling the petals around, and I am using my piercing tool for that. Just giving them a little bit of life and dimension, curving them around. And I did this with all 3 flowers. Now I'm sticking the other end of the piercing tool down in the center, and that gives it quite a bit of dimension. I stick it right up the center of the leaf and just press, and that gives me the little vein in the leaf. Let's go ahead and put the card front onto the card base, and now we pretty much have our canvas to work on. So we're going to start laying out all of the different pieces. They're the library cards, and I did end up just writing some fake names on those and dates just to make them look like they had all been filled out. I tend to spend a lot of time laying out my cards. So even though I design them in Design Space, it seems to look just a little different when you're actually doing it in real life. So sometimes I fuss quite a bit with this part of it and just kind of think about where do I want to lay things and that kind of thing. So here you're sort of seeing me fuss with some of the flowers. Here I'm taking some embroidery floss and I'm just running it over an old candle. Embroidery floss doesn't have much body to it. So to give it a little bit of stiffness, I'm adding this wax to it and help it keep its shape. Now I'm going to make a double bow, and I just go under, over, and then take the tails and I just go ahead and tie a knot. And especially with that wax, that knot's going to hold pretty well in there. And then of course I'm going to be gluing it into place, so it's definitely going to stay there. All right, I've gone ahead and just run some thread through that button, and the little brown button is just going to be another little embellishment in with those flowers over the library cards. Coming in with some Fabri-Tac, and I will go ahead and just start gluing everything down. Now I'm afraid I'm going to forget where everything was, so I'm just holding it in place and I'm just putting the glue underneath and just gluing it in that way. So I just roll up the sides a little bit, drop some of that Fabri-Tac in, and hold it into place. Now you'll notice there on the left, I have a little bit of lace there underneath the little girl. That is some lace that's sort of on some, it's like on seam binding. I cut part of that seam binding away to get rid of the bulk, so there's just a little itty bitty bit of it left. And then that little bit of lace is just going to stick out right underneath her. And you're going to be able to see that here in a minute. There it is, because I'm going to take her away and glue down that little bit. I'm bringing back the flowers just to make sure that I've got room for everything. And now I'm going to go ahead and put the pearls into those flowers just so I don't lose them. I have a tendency to things, you know, they slide around and fall on the floor and then you have to go looking for them. So I thought, you know what, just to avoid that, I'm going to go ahead and glue these little gems in. Now, I will tell you that I have ice cream lids, and there's one right there on the left-hand corner of this frame. And many times I'll put buttons and gems and things like that into those ice cream lids so that they don't roll away or slide off the table. And that's how I sort of keep track of things. All right, time to put the little book collection, sort of like a book plate actually. And I'm going to go ahead and put that down right on top of the little girl. But I haven't got her glued in yet. So time to start figuring out where all of this is going to go. So here I'm going to fuss with that bow just a little bit and put it right in. I'm going to cut the tails of that so it just sticks straight out eventually. All right, time to commit to this now. I'm going to do one more double check on that. And I glued her in, and now I'm putting in the little book plate. I'm putting in the little satin, actually it's a Gros-grain bow. And now putting those flowers in. I'm doing all this with Fabri-Tac. And I forgot to lay my little bow in there first. So easy enough. That's the nice thing about Fabri-Tac. You can just pull it up and just resituate again. Having placed those little flowers in with some Fabri-Tac, I'm now going to add the button. And again, I'm using Fabri-Tac. I do sometimes for plastic elements and wood elements, I will use a stronger glue. But I felt that the Fabri-Tac would hold this button. It's pretty small. It doesn't weigh much. All right, so now we're going to add those little leaves in place. And again, I'll tell you, when I work with florals like this, I play forever with those. It's hard for me. Maybe I need to do it more often. Whenever I notice that I have trouble with something, it's because I don't do it enough. So maybe I need to be doing some more floral clusters and then it'll become second nature. Moving on away from the floral, let's move into adding a few little gems into place. I'm using some multi-medium glue from, I believe it's from Ranger. I'll link everything below. And I'm just going to add a few little gems amongst those books. Again, just drawing the eye throughout the card because I have so much on that right side. It's just heavily embellished and not much going on over on the left-hand side. So just adding a little bit there. I do end up replacing that bottom gem with one of the little flowers I had left and placing the gem in the middle of that. If you watch very many of my videos, you know when the gems come out, we are nearing the end of the video. And we are wrapping this one up. I invite you to come share your work with us, your creations at Path of Positivity. Anything positive goes. I will leave everything linked in the box below. And if you have any comments or questions, please leave those for me and I will certainly get back to you. Again, thank you for your time today. I appreciate your visit. And I will catch up with you in the next video. Bye.